Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dillon, I'm your host, and today, guys, we are going to be talking about large projects. Now, large projects are super fun to talk about. They are the thing that everybody's always excited to talk about, whether it's a 50, 100, 500, $1 billion project, right? Everybody's always super excited about those big top line numbers, because frankly, they're cool, right? Like if you worked on the Sphere in Vegas, you want to talk about the Sphere in Vegas. For us, we have some of those large scale projects, but the pros and cons of those two things are usually the super large, especially in like the data center land or any of those manufacturing projects nowadays. You end up being under confidentiality agreements, so you can't actually talk about large projects or have the owner's name in anything. They just don't allow you to do any of that stuff. So when we have large projects, we don't get to talk about the details and the specifics like we would always want to. But today we're talking about how do engineering teams ultimately handle these large scale projects, right? There's a ton of them going on. And what's cool about a lot of these is it's really shown the need for not only your electricians, your sheet metal guys, your, everybody in the mechanical world doing process piping, your pipe fitters, your plumbers, right? Everybody that is a part of all these projects, all your dirt workers, your earth movers to dig ditches and trenches and duct banks and all the other fun stuff and put vaults in the ground, all those fun things that happen with these large scale projects. But it's also the need for the engineering talent on the other side of it that AI is not just wiping away, right? We had a number of firms, not necessarily in the engineering world, but in like software development and that kind of stuff. So the other, engineering piece where they were going to put all this AI in and remove all their software talent. Turns out they did that. And then they were like, holy crap, we actually need those guys for our projects. So again, AI is meant to augment and help to offset your team and your talent so that you can do more basically with the same number of people, which is what I have been saying for close to a decade at this point, where software is really meant to augment your people. And so you don't have to hire additional people, but to help them do more with less, basically, right? You have another tool, you can run more through your system. And so for us, we do have our own automation tool, right? We built Cowabunga Studios, and all of that has come internal to Vertical Design Services. So we're able to use automation tools to automate a lot of the things we do for our projects, which allows us to move faster. It allows, again, our team to be able to do more with less. So on these large projects and keeping up with like large scale developments, ultimately this comes down to having really a few things. We have automation tools to help us get ahead of it, but is also to, as an engineering firm, what are you doing to build your team, build your talent pipeline, bring more people in so that you can scale ultimately the conversations that you have with your team. Because this is where really engineering and on the building and construction side is probably the hardest, is the distillation of information into a single big checklist of all the things that you have to do. That is what it ultimately comes down to, is how well are you at keeping a very big list and just methodically going through and checking off every single space, every single piece of equipment, every single owner conversation and comment that you might have had along the way, and adding all that information to a single list that, again, you go through, you double and triple check to make sure everything is incorporated into the construction documents. At the end of the day, that's all we're doing, is taking all the owner comments, all the owner feedback, and putting that into a single set of drawings, ultimately, that we make sure that those things get built. So you go onto the job site, you got your drawings. Hey, I drew a conduit here. Oh, good, it's there in real life, right? This piece of equipment turns on, doesn't trip a breaker because we sized everything appropriately, right? Those are all the little pieces that add up to these mega projects. It's not like when you do a 500 room hotel, you just do the same thing over and over and over again, right? You might have 10 different room types within that hotel or apartment complex. And it's just, hey, here are the 5 or 10 or 20 room types for this building. You're going to do these however many times over, depending on the number of units within that project. And ultimately, that's how you build the project, right? So it's like the old adage goes, how do you need an elephant? One bite at a time, right? You do that for a hotel, right? You design one room at a time, go through it, and do it again and again and again and again. This is why automation software is so powerful for those very repetitive tasks, that you can kind of get the first big swath and big pass of what that is going to look like in a project, and then go through, make the tweaks that you need to throughout, do your circuiting throughout, and kind of just go from there. Makes things a whole lot easier when you have some tools to offset the tedious tasks that you do have through a project. But ultimately, that's how you build these large scale projects, is either with a whole big team of people or one big list that you can segment, amongst all your people, or just a list that one guy is dedicated to going through, working through day in and day out. And you don't give that guy a phone or really anything else, just a list, and they go down the list, check it off, and he doesn't get interrupted in doing his tasks. And it's amazing how productive people are when there's no phone calls or interruptions or anything else that stops them from doing the thing that they are there to do. So you can go a lot faster too if you just do that one thing and not interrupt people. Let them do the work that they're there to do. And then with that, how do you iterate through it? And again, incorporate those design changes, right? Add it to the list. List gets done. List gets updated. You go through it, make those changes, and everybody's usually pretty happy if you can stay on top of all of those things. I am not by any means saying that this is easy, right? But I'm saying that is how you do it. If you can keep track of things on a list, have somebody manage that list, go through it, incorporate it. When you basically double check the things on that list, make it on the drawings so that you have, again, one combined useful piece of paper to show the guys in the field ultimately what they're going to build. That's all we're here for, right? Making sure our calculations are good, that we're specifying the right wire size, conduit size, breaker size, gear size. All of our load calculations are correct, so the guys in the field can just go and execute. That's our job as engineers, is to making sure everything is documented. So the guys in the field installing it and building it, their job is a lot easier, where they're not questioning, what they're actually installing, and they can use their brain power and their skills to do what they are best at, and that's installing those electrical systems and doing that work that is not my forte, right? That's not what engineers are great at. Engineers are great on the design side and that piece of it. And then electricians are great at what they do, right? And installing and building what we use every day. So that's how you do a large scale project, one bite at a time. Just like any little project, it's just a lot harder to keep track of all those little details throughout, large scale developments and large scale projects. So that is going to be this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.